So, it's night in Finland, and we are looking out of my window, and it's still quite bright, as you can see, in summer here in Finland. You can even see the sky clearly and some clouds. So I wanted to do this this my authentic POV style of vlog. You know, I just I've been lying here on the lying on the ground, not lying, not like I what a way to start a vlog. I did not mean that I am being dishonest. I did try to mean that I'm being like being in here, like laying down. Oh man, yeah. So yeah. So I've been just being here, right, and so on, and I have been like thinking that some of my life decisions, some of the things, I watched some of these police videos, some military videos from YouTube, and I was thinking like that. I actually used to want to be like a police officer for a very long time ago, 15 years ago. I did try to apply this police academy here in Finland, and I did try to get in once, and then I was like, okay, I was not accepted because the entry exam here in Finland is very brutal. It is multi-day, it is very demanding, and so on. And in addition, one which also makes it like a more challenging to participate to the exam is that the only police school here in Finland is like a very far away in the middle of nowhere, 150 kilometers away from Helsinki, which is quite far away. So yeah, but anyways, I did try to get in. I was not accepted, and then I was okay. I need to train more. I need to go gym, and then when I was almost getting ready to go and get in and try again, and then I got this like a hand issue, so I could not train anymore, and I was like, okay, I cannot. It is very high probability that I'm not going to be able to pass the exam because I would have not been able to train for many months, and so therefore I was just that okay, I will not continue to pursue the police academy stuff, and I continued to go to other schools, and then I did also consider that okay, I would like to maybe if I would go to the England, I did try to apply for this London University Criminology degree, and I was actually, and in London, in the England, how you apply for university level of schools, it's very different compared to Finland. In Finland, it's all about entry exams. For example, if you have to perform really well in the entry exams, or you have to have really good, excellent graduation paper from your previous school, okay? But in the London University, you just basically, if you have the money, you have the money, or you can take student loan, and then you just apply, you send this application, this kind of motivation letter. At least back in the day, 15 years ago, it was like you had to write this motivation letter, and you tried to apply for this university in London. And I was approved and so on, but the problem was that, well, my main issue was that, okay, you would have to pay like 30,000-40,000 of the whole degree. And second of all, I would have had to move to London. And third was that, okay, it was the criminology degree, and I did not find the appeal in the criminology back then so much. So there was many reasons why I did not go to London University. But you know, it is always like some of these days, nowadays, when I look back and I'm thinking like what I should have done, what kind of decisions I should have done. Should have tried to pursue the police academy more back in the day, despite my hand. But still, I do feel that was the only decision that because of my hand, I just have to move on. And like I said, the criminology path was not the right path, because I would have needed to take like a 40 grand of student loan. And back then I did also look some of these documentaries that in the England some students actually might even end up becoming homeless, because in the UK there is like this very similar education system which US has, that if you have money then it's like very easy. But if you don't have money, there's this huge chance that now you have this huge student debt after you have graduated and so on. So like I said, I do think that I did also make the good decision on that. But even and in addition to that, one thing which I did take a look. In addition all of this, I did take a look. Okay, what if I would apply for US police or something like that, and I did look at this US FBI requirements, what it would take if I would try to apply for US FBI, okay? And I did think myself, okay, this would be cool job and so on, but of course it's like, the thing is that then the problem was, in addition, this was actually the same problem in England, that if you want to go as a Finnish citizen, as a Finn, if you want to apply to as a police officer in the UK, you have to be first citizen. You have to have like a citizenship for like 3 years before you can apply for the police school in England. And the same is with the US, that you have to have you have to live there for a while, and then you get to apply for the FBI job. And in the US, the work culture is also very different to what it is here in Finland or what is in the UK, in the London. So when I did look at the FBI work hours, it's like a 50-hour weeks. So also in that case, it did not sound good. So to try to apply to, try to pursue that path, to apply, to try to pursue to US FBI. But again, like I said, it's like decisions, and now as I look of it, it's like it just got me thinking that what matters most in life, and what matters most in life is that you have to just try to pursue things that you really are into, that really calls you, like that really matters you. And I do think that this policing, this criminology stuff, partially at least, but like I said, the FBI thing and so on, those are really things which really like really inspire me, and you know. So you know, so I have been just having these thoughts again that should I have done even earlier something more, even more to pursue these goals. But the thing is that as you go forward in life, you try to make the best decisions at the moment, and you try to rationalize, make rational decisions, right? And it is not like there is no like a clear direction, there is not like very clear, easy decisions that you can make unless, like I said, if you have just like a huge amount of money, then you can just buy yourself into these universities. You can move in by using your status, your influence, and so on. So my life, it has been what it is, but so the main thing which I think is very important is that you have to look, and you have to take a look of the decisions and ask yourself, have you tried your best? And I would say that I have. Despite all the drawbacks in some areas of my life. But when it comes to the FBI stuff, I'm still today, I'm like, it would be so cool to be in the US FBI. When it comes to military stuff, I'm not maybe. I would enjoy the criminal investigation part of the police work and such. So yeah. In here, Finland, by the way, how the police system, how they are like organized in the Finland's societies, that you go to the police school, and from there you can specialize into criminal investigation or whatever you want to do, or you can just be like a normal police doing like this basic everyday stuff. But in my understanding, the US, it's like you have all these different organizations, and they are like very separate from each other. So it's quite interesting system in the US. But yeah. When it comes to the UK, the London, maybe I would say that because I would say that in my opinion the situation, how things are going in the UK at the moment, in the London at the moment, I would say that I think that the UK has failed to improve as a society. They are still very I do think that they are lacking this kind of progress in their society. So, for example, in the Nordic, I would say that the Nordic are very sophisticated and advanced as a society, but I cannot say the same about the UK. I would say that it has gone more backwards, and all the freedom of speech issues which I have seen on the news, I think that sounds like a clear problem. If we compare the US, I would say that even the US, in my eyes, when it comes to freedom of speech and so on, and liberties, is in a better position. However, when it comes to government corruption, I do think it's very clear that US government is corrupt. I do think it's very common knowledge by now. I do think that many, if not most, Americans know that US government is corrupt. When it comes to Europeans, would say maybe, I would estimate that maybe most of Europeans, most of Nordics, at least most of Nordics know that and have known for a long time that US government has been corrupt for a long time, but now, as you may know, and I do think that you know at this point, that it's very clear that US government is very corrupt and so on. But so one thing which I have been still thinking that, like I said, I would even today I would like to, it would be great to work in the FBI, pursue the goal, but for now, today, it's even harder to justify pursuing that kind of career because of the corruption in the US government, right? Because of course you don't want to participate in actions which are determined by corrupt government, right? Because we have to remember that law enforcement, they just follow the laws and the decisions what government gives. So it's a great job, it's a very important job. And there is much of responsibility and so on. And also, of course, there is a lot of independence when we think about how for example, FBI at least used to work and operate in the US. That they used to actually investigate corrupt politicians. But now things have changed in the US also in that part. So even the FBI, in my understanding, has become even more corrupt in a way, or influenced by politics in the US. And that is, of course, very, very huge problem. Well, for example, we can, if you go very direct into this conversation, even deeper, if I remember right, when the President Donald Trump was first time president in his first term, I don't remember was it his first term or second term, but he did, for example, fire this FBI leader or one of the FBI the guys, the main guys who leads the FBI, because the exact FBI leader did start investigation of Donald Trump in some case. And then Donald Trump did fire the FBI director. Think about that. So if that does not tell you that US is corrupt and FBI has not been influenced by politics and in a way that FBI hasn't been silenced or put down, that they investigation and has not been under influence. I don't know what to tell you. So so of course when it comes to these kind of autonomy issues, how these organizations should operate in each and every country, right? They should be independent as possible, especially when it comes to policing and criminal investigation and so on. For example, very practical example how policing works in Finland is that, for example, if some police officer is accused of something, right, they commit crime, or maybe they are probably even corrupt. If the police is, for example, corrupt in Finland, what happens is that so that the criminal investigation remains unbiased, there is this procedure in Finland that the police department in which the accused of being, for example, corrupt, it does not handle the criminal investigation. Instead, some other district, some other police department handles the criminal investigation if some police officer here in Finland is accused of being corrupt, for example. So that is very clear example how this kind of investigation should go forward. But more importantly, what is very important is that these kind of systems, police investigations, and how police or like I did mention, that the FBI example in the US, like the FBI chief, who got fired because he did his job. It is very important that there is not any kind of political influence to these systems. So that is one of the most important things, that these systems like FBI, for example, that they remain independent and so on. So but when it comes to US corruption, that's just one thing that it is very telling story about that. If you give somebody too much power, it corrupts the whole system. For example, if you take as a comparison, Finland, how Finland's politics work is that the power is very divided in different levels. In the local politics, in the bigger area politics, and the legislative level of politics. So that being, for example, the lawmakers in parliament. Okay. Then there is some other titles such as mayor, for example, Helsinki mayor. But for example, prime minister is the most influential politician in here in Finland. But the president, as a politician here in Finland, does not have that much of power. And his role in the Finland's politics is to be like a diplomat, to be like a negotiator between different countries, and be this kind of international messenger between different countries, right? And I would say that Alexander Stubb has done, in overall, very good job being Finland's president. But like I did mention in the US corruption situation, on the other hand, I do think that the main reason is that, and one of the most biggest reason is that there is not this kind of authentic democracy. And what I mean by that is that the power is divided to different kind of levels in the society. And the president should not have, or in any way one person should not have that much power which US has at this moment. Because, like you can see, if you give that much of power to someone, then what happens is that what is now happening in the US politics, right? So it's very important to not give one or two guys too much power. The power needs to be divided at the broader level in politics. But of course, I do understand that this discussion goes much deeper, because now if the it's this is actually good to leave for another video. What are the advantages and disadvantages when it comes to these different kind of societal models, power structures? For example, how the power is divided in Finland, how much power the Finland's president has compared to US president. I think that subject is, I will leave that for another video, but but yeah, I just want to talk about this, my thoughts about the reason why I did start to make this vlog, or this. I just want to talk about my thoughts, that it would be still cool to be like a police officer, or being in the FBI, or maybe even be criminology in the England. I don't know. But it will be cool to be in some of those areas, or to do something in those areas as a job. So yeah, thank you for watching, and follow, subscribe, and have a nice day.